All right, let's see what we have in the news this afternoon. It's almost 3 p.m. on Saturday, December 14th. ABC News settles defamation suit with Trump for $15 million. That sounds pretty serious. ABC News will pay $15 million to a presidential foundation and museum in a settlement reached with Donald Trump in his defamation suit against the network anchor George Stephanopoulos, or as Donald Trump calls him, George Snuffleupagus. The settlement, which was filed publicly Saturday, which is odd for a settlement, reveals that the network will also pay $1 million in Trump's attorney's fees and will issue an apology. Interesting. ABC News will issue the following statement as an editor's note on the online article, blah, blah, blah. ABC News and George Stephanopoulos regret statements made regarding Donald Trump during an interview by George Stephanopoulos and Representative Nancy Mace on ABC's This Week on March 10th, 2024. We are pleased that the parties have reached an agreement to dismiss the lawsuit on terms in the court filing. Trump filed a defamation suit against Stephanopoulos after he asserted that Trump was found liable for rape in a civil case during a contentious interview with Representative Nancy Mace last March. After playing a clip of Nancy Mace discussing being a victim of rape, Stephanopoulos asked her, "How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw? You endorsed Trump for president. Judges in 2 separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape," referring to E. Jean Carroll. Stephanopoulos repeated the claim 10 times during his interview with Mace, despite the fact that a jury actually determined Trump was liable for sexual abuse, which has a distinct definition under New York law. That's accurate. Initially, Stephanopoulos was defiant in the face of Trump's lawsuit, telling CBS late-night host Stephen Colbert that he would not be cowed out of doing my job because of a threat. Trump sued me because I used the word rape, even though a judge said that's in fact what did happen. Interesting. Let's unpack that a little bit. Hang on one moment here. So this goes back to May 9th, 2023, when a jury found Trump was liable for sexual abuse regarding a lawsuit brought against him by E. Jean Carroll, and the sexually abused her in 1996. The jury awarded her $5 million in a judgment. The verdict was split. Jurors rejected Carroll's claim that she was raped, finding Trump responsible for a lesser degree of sexual abuse. The judgment adds that Trump's legal woes offer blah, 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 blah. Then, 2 months later, July 19th, 2023, judge clarifies, yes, Trump was found to have raped E. Jean Carroll. Interesting. Following that trial, his legal team had filed a motion to dismiss and some other post-trial motions. Despite Carroll's claims that Trump had raped her, they noted the jury stopped short, said sexual abuse. His attorney, Joe Tacopina, said this was a rape claim. This was a rape case all along, and the jury rejected that and made other findings. A judge has now clarified, that's interesting, that this is basically a legal distinction without a real-world difference. He says that the jury found Trump did was, in fact, rape, as commonly understood. Interesting. In finding that Ms. Carroll failed to prove that she was raped within the meaning of the New York penal law, criminal code, different than civil, that does not mean that she failed to prove that Mr. Trump raped her, as many people commonly understand that word. Indeed, the evidence at trial recounted below makes clear the jury found that Mr. Trump did exactly that. Interesting. That's a federal judge saying that. I'm confused as to why Donald Trump did not sue this federal judge for the same thing for which he sued George Stephanopoulos and ABC. Oh, that's right. The judge is not a multi-million-dollar media corporation, and the judge himself is not a multi-millionaire news broadcaster, and ABC's parent company is Disney. which has also had some difficulties dealing with Republicans in the state of Florida. Continuing. Kaplan said New York's legal definition of rape is far narrower than the word is understood in the common modern parlance. The former requires forcible, unconsented to, trigger warning, well, I'm not going to read that part, penetration, okay. But he said that the conduct the jury effectively found Trump liable for, forced digital penetration, meets a more common definition of rape. And he adjudicated that Donald Trump was, in fact, found liable for rape. So Trump sued George Stephanopoulos in a defamation lawsuit in New York. What is the standard for defamation in the state of New York? New York law considers defamation to be the act of making false statements about someone that harm their reputation. To be considered defamation, the statement must be false, must be published to a third party, must harm the plaintiff's reputation, and must clearly identify the plaintiff, Donald Trump. So let's go through those one by one. The statement must be false. A federal judge adjudicated that what George Stephanopoulos said to Nancy Mace was factually true. Must be published to a third party, that's correct. Must harm the plaintiff's reputation. At the time this verdict came out, Trump had 26, 27 civil lawsuits against him for sexual assault, sexual harassment. His reputation preceded him. I think there's a strong case to say that what George Stephanopoulos said to Nancy Mace did not harm Trump's reputation and must clearly identify the plaintiff. George Stephanopoulos did clearly identify the plaintiff. I think that this $16 million that ABC News and its parent company Disney has agreed to pay to Donald Trump, they're paying $1 million to his lawyers because Trump's PAC that has been paying his attorneys is dry. There's no money left in it. And they're donating $15 million to a presidential library or a foundation. Where do you think that money's going to end up? I would never personally say this, but I think that many people could look at these circumstances. Many people could say that this could possibly, potentially, maybe be a $16 million bribe or payment for whatever made to an incoming president who has threatened war on the media as a centerpiece of his second administration, a major nationwide news organization, its parent company Disney, also a media company that has already had years of difficulties dealing with Republicans in Florida. I think $16 million, some people might think, would go a long way towards relieving some of that pressure. Trump's incoming FBI director has explicitly stated he's going to use the power of the FBI and the Department of Justice against members of the media. Oh, he said that? Said the CEO of Disney. Can we just give him $16 million because we have this lawsuit pending? Then everybody will think that the money has to do with the lawsuit, even though they can't, as a matter of law, prove defamation. If we give him $16 million within the context of that lawsuit, then that wouldn't look like a bribe, would it?